done as early as we wanted to last week because
everything happened.
Yeah, everything kind of fell apart.
No. How are you guys doing, by the way?
Doing okay.
I think we're doing good. All things considered, I mean, it was a rough week, but we had all of our family staying with us, so we didn't get any schoolwork done. It really sucked.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Our professors were pretty kind about it. They were
Yeah,
like,
they were cool.
we understand that you guys didn't plan for this to happen, so
Yeah. The professors on this campus are a lot more compassionate than at other places.
Yeah.
My friend, she goes to a school in Utah. It's not a church school, but it's a Utah school, so majority of the people are LDS. And her grandmother passed away, and they didn't excuse her from her finals, so she ended up failing one of her classes.
Oh my gosh.
Because she wasn't able to make it because she went to the funeral. So, yeah, it was pretty bad. So, yeah, this campus is really nice compared to other ones.
We've been really, actually, we wrote one of our professors the other day, and we're like, you're just so awesome, because she's so kind and just so willing to work with us, because we get all of our work done. It's just this one thing happened, and we couldn't turn it all in on time.
Yeah. I want you guys to know I wasn't worried that you guys weren't going to do your prayer. I was like, oh, no, hopefully they just didn't do the whole thing without me, and I'm, missing a part or something.
Yeah, we figured that you'd be worried because we were silent for that time. We had all of my family was in town, and they were staying.
Yeah.
And so we just didn't have a chance to even get on email or anything, so we felt really bad, but
No,
hey,
it's completely understandable. I would have done the exact same thing.
and I was asking, Cammie said we got an A on the project, so hey.
Yeah.
That's what matters,
I know. I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you guys are doing better, and we've been praying for you guys, so.
That's nice of you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Alrighty.
Okay.
I have to pull up my notes.
So it looks like we're supposed to compare group projects that we did and kind of explain to other people what we did for our partner activity, but since we are the ones that compiled it, I guess we can talk about it.
Yeah, I guess we're good there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, what's this? She found a napkin.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah, we both really appreciate everything you did for that project. It was going into it, having that much done, gave us a total place to jump off and get everything else that we needed to.
It made it so much easier. So you were.
I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, you definitely did. It gave us because we hadn't even really got to look at it. So Saturday was the day that we did everything.
Yeah.
So having that done for us was awesome. Yeah, you really helped out a lot.
Yeah, it was nice because so for my major, I had to take a PE methods class. And so I have to go work, had to, the semester's almost over, at some of the PE classes around at the elementary schools around here. And so they all did Fuel Up to Play. So I was really familiar with the program, and I was like, this is perfect for that domain. So I was just like, I'm just going to take all my notes and everything I know about it from that class and use it for this class.
That was perfect.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Yeah.
Why not, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, I really like it when classes intermingle like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've had a couple that have done that before, and it makes the workload so much easier.
Yeah. And you guys are almost done. Congratulations for your last semester, right?
We have one more.
Oh,
Yeah.
one more, but still almost done.
Yeah.
This next semester is our internship mostly, so we're basically done. Yeah, we're pretty excited.
That's really exciting. Congratulations.
How long do you have left?
This is my 6th semester, but I started as L-Ed, and then I changed over to early childhood special education. So I have 3 more. No. I have 3 more, including student teaching. So
Yeah.
I'm almost done a year from now. So yeah.
Hey, that's not bad. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is your husband the same? Does he have a year left too?
Oh no, so we met last fall, and it was his first semester. So we've only done 3 semesters so far. So yeah, we'll be here a while. So
We understand. It took us a while to get school done. So we understand how it goes. Don't worry.
yeah. Sweet.
Okay, so I guess we'll just jump right. So do you want to just talk about the
We're supposed to talk about the interventions that we can.
Yeah. So I did peer pressure and peer acceptance. I thought this one was really interesting because my mom is actually a middle school teacher, but the middle schools here are 5th and 6th grade. So I know it's super weird, but that's just the grades that are in the middle school. So I talked to some of her colleagues about it, and they said this is a major thing. So I talked to one gifted and talented teacher, and then I talked to just a normal, I don't want to say normal, but just an ordinary teacher that doesn't have the extra programs. And on both sides, from both interviews, they both talked about how they compete with their peers, whether it's like who got a higher grade or who, I don't know, has better clothes or something. But that if one person makes something seem really cool in the classroom, like a theme, or you should do this for our big project or everything, like everyone starts writing a paper about the same thing, or just like different things. So they kind of talked about, even at a young age, peer pressure definitely has a say. And then because it was a little bit older, they talked about, and sometimes it's kind of hard because right now I'm in a Rexburg bubble. So it's like 99% of the people who aren't college students in Rexburg are LDS. But even within the LDS community, there's peer pressure, there's people that drink, there's people that do things. My sister goes to high school here, so she kind of even like talked to me a little bit about it. But I found some interventions that the school district here uses, and so I'm just gonna pull these up real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so they have this is one that one of the teachers I interviewed, she talked the most about, and she said, I just wrote down notes of what she said about talking to parents, because for my interview, I kind of asked them, you know, like that very last question of is like, who should be responsible to teach children about these things? And she said that parents should be the ones that teach moral values pretty much to their children. So with peer pressure, she said that parents need to listen carefully to what the child is saying, both their words and their actions, because body language is huge in talking. Be open to criticism from your child and consider what they are saying, because sometimes with our children, we kind of have a hard time listening because we know that, or we have this way of thinking that we know better than they do and that we have more experience, but we need to listen from their point of view and just kind of hear what's going on. And then she said the hardest part might be for a child is talking with them about peer pressure specifically and asking them, even if a child doesn't confront them necessarily, it's good to role play with their children. And I kind of thought about it because my mom totally used to do this. Like, if someone asks you to let you cheat off their test or something and everyone else is doing it, like, are you going to let them cheat on your test or kind of thing? So just kind of giving them those situations that they can compare it to. And then it says, cultivate a safe place for teens or children to talk to, and allow them to have strong relationships with other children, adults, and teachers, coaches, mentors, and work together so that you can all find a positive path for them to go on. And then there's like this 5-step process. And it was pretty much just talking about like, listen to the child first about what they say about peer pressure in a certain incident. It says to communicate back to them. So listen and then in your own words, reply to them and kind of say what you think that they're saying so that they can say, yes, that's what I'm thinking or what I'm not thinking. Listen to them and give them time to say, what do you think you should do? And so instead of saying, this is what you should do, have them come up with their own solution. And that kind of reminded me of like the Book of Mormon, like the brother of Jared and everything. And so that was kind of cool. And then number 4, she said in their STEP program is to have them talk about if they were outside of the scenario and if they were someone who was being asked about it from like, if they were someone, so if someone was asking them advice about it, what would they say if they didn't have like their emotions tied to it at the time? And then 5 is just kind of say what you would do and give reasoning why. So I think that's just a huge part of like explaining the why and not just being said, like saying because I said so. Yeah, that was what a big part that I took from it. But I think your guys' sound is off. Okay. Yeah.
We
We
paused
muted it
it.
because the baby was screaming.
Yeah. I was like, I can tell that you guys know what I'm saying because you guys are nodding, but I was like, I don't hear anything.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I understand.
That sounds awesome. Like,
Man, that is so cool. All those principles.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of went over above. This is what I get for like being an education major and then interviewing teachers.
That's totally fine. No, I kind of did the same thing, but go ahead. What were you
I was
saying?
just saying, like, the principles that you like were talking about. I think that even adults struggle with some of those things, and like all of those principles are super good and like can be used in multiple situations, not just like if your kid's having problems.
And it's really interesting. All of our classes, I don't know if you see this, but all of our classes are so intertwined. I think we were just, in one of our other classes, we were just talking about this, wasn't it? Weren't we?
I don't know.
Oh, it could have been in our workshop, in our practicum, because we talked about how children are affected by the way parents, especially how you were talking about how if they listen or if they just parents, you know.
We did talk about that in our parenting class too.
Yeah, because even though it's so easy to think that you're the parent and they're the child, so you know better.
Yeah,
It's,
definitely.
Yeah, all those principles, and it all really comes down to building a better relationship with your children, allowing them to communicate to you, and you openly communicating to them. You know, and all of that. It's weird that all of that helps peer pressure.
I think it was interesting too because like peer pressure sometimes, like when I first looked at it and I was like, this is from a child perspective because I think about it like, do you want a cigarette or do you want to drink or do you want to do all these things, you know, kind of like negative peer pressure. But another teacher brought up that there's positive peer pressure too. Like if majority of the students are doing well, she said that she sees a lot of positive peer pressure in her gifted and talented class because everyone wants the A and someone says like the assignment's to write 2 pages and someone wrote 5 pages, they all want to write 5 pages now so they can show that they all, you know, work hard. So I thought that was an interesting perspective too.
Yeah, I think we've found that even in school. Like, we have another class where we have 2 other
That's our practical.
women, that we meet with, and they're always like talking about how they did this and they went above and beyond on this, or they didn't do so well on this, and it all like at the end we all wind up
Inspiring each other.
Yeah, we're like, we want this, you know.
Yeah.
Like peer pressure can be either way, and a lot of times I think we focus on the negative or we think about the negative, but like especially in high school, most of the peer pressure that I received or that I noticed was negative. But I had really good friends. That's actually why I wound up serving a mission, is because of one of my best friends. He's the one that like all of my family most of my family wasn't really active. Sorry.
Oh, I heard the thud. Yeah.
Okay.
She's just tired on top of it.
I know. She's sleepy girl. Here, why don't I take her and just lay down with her? You can nurse her if you want. Will that princess? You can just sit over there and nurse, and you can listen. Okay, so Cammie's gonna be out of the picture.
Yeah, that's fine.
But she'll still listen. So, man, I loved what your whole report thing. That's really awesome.
Thanks.
So I did something that was similar to you. Hold on just a sec. There we go. I did bullying, and I found, did you happen to, whenever you were looking for, did you find any peer-reviewed articles on peer pressure?
Yeah, let me see. I gotta pull them up real quick. Yeah, there was one, and it was from a magazine.
Oh,
it was
nice.
like a Scholastic one that it was in the school.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, but
We found.
You found.
Yeah, sorry, I found.
Because we usually do assignments too.
Yeah, we is not me. I found, so on bullying, I found, I actually found 3 peer-reviewed articles, And the one that was my favorite, this is the one that I took all the information from. It actually talks a little bit about what you were saying too, because it was bullying among young children, strategies for prevention. And so I just kind of highlighted some of the main points. So these are the points that I basically picked that I thought were most important. So this guy said that he said suggested engaging preschool. So basically he was talking mostly to parents and teachers, and he was trying to he was coming up with ways of prevention to stop bullying from happening. And he said suggested engaging preschool and kindergarten students in story time to be curious about their surroundings and embrace the diversity that surrounds them. So he talked about how when you're teaching or you're reading story times, kind of focus on being positive and paying attention to your surroundings. So if kids notice their surroundings more, they might notice other kids being bullied. He talked about how it is never too early to teach youngsters the correct definition of bullying. So he talked a lot about teaching preschool children to start from preschool, because the earlier you start with children about bullying, the more likely they are to prevent it in the future. So, which is something I hadn't really thought of. You know, you teach your young children to be kind, of course. Like we have a 6-year-old, we teach him to be nice and loving, but I don't think we've talked a lot about bullying. I think maybe in the last year we have more than we used to. But he's in kindergarten now, and I hadn't really thought about that. But I think that's important. In order to prevent bullying, it's never too early to start.
Yeah.
A couple other ones that I like that he said is if teachers have the ability to spend time addressing conflict and recognizing emotions in others as well as themselves, it may lead to a decrease in bullying incidents for the future. So it just talks about kind of like what you said about parents taking the time to talk with their children. That's an important thing for teachers and parents. If they help their children recognize their emotions and addressing conflicts when they feel them, or when they have them, that can help prevent bullying in the future. And then the key to preventing bullying is to include specific activities and messages as organic parts of the educational process the students are already involved in, appropriate to their development needs. So in order to...
Yeah, she's trying to get
Okay. To prevent bullying is to teach specifically to the children. So if one child has a lot of anger and doesn't know how to control his emotions, you can help him or teach principles to the class that might help all of us, but specifically help that one student too.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, oh man, that's why I loved this study. So it gave like 4 different principles or ideas of ways to help prevent bullying. So it said knowledge, and then it gave a scenario and then a way to overcome it. So it said knowledge. Bullies know that they are skilled at gaining and using power over others. Emma Grace.
You found something already.
And then the scenario for teachers is teachers should consider offering leadership opportunities to these children. They will see the positive outcomes of their skills. So focus on a bully and offer them an opportunity to use those skills that they have at gaining power over others. So channel that knowledge that they have into something positive, helping a student do that. I think my mom tried doing that with me as a kid, because I don't know if I was a bully. I may have been to my little brother. He says I was, but he's always kind of negative.
Aren't all older siblings bullies in some way?
Yeah, I guess you're right. But my mom helped me a lot in helping me to channel my understanding and my frustrations into something better. So she would always encourage me to go play the drums whenever I would get upset. You know, and so and it became a reaction over years. I still do it now. Instead of like lashing out or getting mad or something, I go do something. You know, I use my ability, the skills that I've been taught. It's kind of cool.
That's really good.
So another principle is attitude. So the scenario is empathy should be focused on, which is the ability to identify with and understand another person's feelings, situation, motives, and corners. And then to build empathy, have the students imagine that someone they don't know very well is sitting across from them. The teacher will guide the students in thinking about what the two have in common or what makes them different. I thought that was cool. Like, yeah, to help, and this might help you, you know, as a teacher, you know, if you want to help children build empathy, get children to think about the way others feel and the way they might be feeling in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Another principle was skills. So knowing how to address bullying at a young age is important. Students should be taught how to be assertive when dealing with bullying issues. This can be done by modeling strong body language, eye messages, and a confident voice. So teaching, this can be parents and teachers, teaching children how to be assertive and to be bold and to teach them appropriate language like I feel or you know, the I messages.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is behavior. So the way the students act in situations is what we consider their behavior. When students make apologies to others, have them start small. Instead of, I'll never pick on anyone again, we should encourage students to say, I won't pick on anyone today. This is considered the one day at a time approach. So I thought that was a really cool one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. And so that was all just one of the studies. I have 3 more.
Yeah.
But
I found a couple.
Yeah, and I thought that was just some of the most powerful stuff. I actually found a bunch of websites. One of them was really sad. It has all these kids. It's Kids Against Bullying. And it has these kids. It almost looks like a, what's that board called? What's it called?
Cork board?
A cork board, like a message board. You know, the ones we have at church for Relief Society and all that. It looks like that, and the kids have little quotes saying reasons why they don't like bullying or they don't want to be bullied. It's kind of cool. And it makes you see things from kids' perspective.
And there's also like a tie to peer pressure. Like if they go across that website and then they see like, oh, all these people are against it and it's a bad thing, that might like sway them to be like, okay, like I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, you're right. It's
so they intermingle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was it for mine.
So mine was on childhood depression. And I found like 2 really cool studies that talked specifically about childhood depression. And one of them was called the Friends for Life program. And do you know what CBT is?
No.
Okay. We've talked about it in another one of our classes, and I wasn't sure like how readily known it is. So CBT is cognitive behavior therapy. So it's using your mind to change your behaviors and how you react to things. And so this program is called Friends for Life, and they base it on CBT, and they teach kids how, when they're feeling anxious or depressed, how to relax and to use positive self-talk and to and one of the things that they did in this study was that they used graduated exposure to feared situations. So when a kid was really afraid of something, then they exposed them to it very slowly. And my favorite part of this one was that they told kids to use the CBT, and rather than focusing on succeeding, to reward themselves when they had done good. And I thought that was just a really interesting way to look at situation, especially with kids that have like depression and stuff, because a lot of times those kids are the ones that are like, oh, I have to be perfect, and if I'm not perfect, I'm not worth anything. And so having those kids like reward themselves and say, I did a really good job making sure that I cleaned my bedroom today, or I finished that assignment, whatever it is for them, rewarding themselves rather than I have to succeed in everything or I'm not good at anything, I thought was a really, really unique way to approach it. And the Friends for Life program has been used for a couple other studies, but mostly for anxiety. And they found in this study that it actually is really, really effective for depression, that the kids that had depressive feelings still were showing positive signs of the Friends for Life program after 6 months and after 12 months, which
Oh wow.
which is kind of incredible that they
It
were
is.
still practicing these habits that they had learned. The other one that I read, the other study that I read was about using family-focused treatment for childhood depression. So this one, it involves like a therapist sitting down with the family. And I really liked this one because it wasn't like, oh, it's your problem, you are depressed, we have to fix you. It was, how can the family support the child, and how can, like, what can we do as a family and as a group to help you get better, not like, and so rather than taking like a one-sided approach, like, this is you and we're going to fix you, it was the whole family. And like, they talked about how like the therapist walks the family through it and pretty much helps the family to recognize that, to norm their behavior. So like to make the family's patterns and stuff more normal, like make them understand that what they're going through is normal. And one of my favorite things is it said that the therapist, although they bring the knowledge and they bring all these skills and things, their role is not to tell the parents what to do, because the parents are regarded as the experts on the child. And so I thought that was a really cool way to look at it. Like, because I think a lot of people go to therapists hoping that the therapist will just solve all the family's problems, but especially with like childhood depression, like the parents know that child a lot more than the therapist does. And so just putting it back on the parents and being like, well, what do you think will work? I think is a really cool way to go through it. And I found an entire website from, what is this? The American Academy of Pediatrics. They wrote a website called healthychildren.org. And one of the things is childhood depression. And it just goes through a bunch of steps. And it says, this is how you can tell if your child may be experiencing depression instead of just tiredness or sadness. And then it talks about taking them to the doctor and having the doctor help. But it goes through like all these different things that you can do as a parent that will help. And I just thought it was a really cool way to like look at depression, because I always hear about like adult depression or adolescent depression, and not so much in children, but like children really can experience those same things.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's tired.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, so I read an article and it's called Teaching Parents About Peer Pressure. And I really liked it, and I just found it on the school website, in the library, the McKay Library. And so in it kind of talked about how parents sometimes, like how I was saying earlier, like they kind of assume that someone else will teach their parent, or like they'll figure it out on their own, or a counselor will talk to them about it, a school teacher, they'll have like activities and things, church leaders even sometimes in our culture will teach about peer pressure. But it talked about the important role that parents play in teaching people about peer pressure. And they said that and this is more kind of towards teenagers, but it can definitely apply to children now, especially in this day and age, of that sometimes parents like to avoid peer pressure subjects because it's might be an awkward conversation with the child. So if it's something to do with like, I don't know, like sexual harassment, or like something like considering drinking, or just like something that a child might be like, Mom, Dad, I don't know how to explain this to you, kind of thing. But just talked about like how parents play such a vital role. And it just had all these statistics showing like children who felt comfortable talking to parents about, I don't know, I can't remember the exact words, but it was like I don't know, like unsafe topics, maybe like things that they might not understand. It showed that those children were like less likely to give in to peer pressure because they knew that they could talk to their parents about it. Whereas if children felt like they didn't have that support from home, they were more likely to experiment and kind of give in to peer pressure more. So I like how you said like parents should definitely play a role, even though like there's counselors who are being paid to like solve these problems. The parent has such a vital role in teaching their children these things.
I think one of the biggest problems is like, and it may be more of a cultural thing for us, but I think it's parents being educated on that topic, because a lot of parents, like you said, they just don't know. And so, Emma Grace, that's enough, young lady. You want me to take it away?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I found, at least through my experiences. A lot of parents just don't get it. They don't understand that no one's going to teach their children if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And some children are lucky. Like me, I was lucky to have church leaders and friends and a few teachers that really educated me and helped me in different ways. But not everyone does that, and so I think there's a real need to educate parents on this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I think all three of these principles kind of interact with one another, because if a kid is having peer pressure, or if they're being bullied, then they're more likely to be depressed. And if they're depressed, then they're more likely to be bullied. And it just is this, really, all three of these topics are kind of interwoven, because like when a kid experiences one of them, they're more likely to experience the other two.
It's a snowball effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big time.
Mm-hmm.
I think from doing this, the domain interviews, that was this class, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Making sure they're on
I
the
get
right
them so
class.
confused. But in doing the domain interviews, it's really helped me to realize that even more how important it is to educate parents, because we actually interviewed parents and talked about what they thought was important, and sometimes that might not necessarily be. Some of the parents we talked to really did know, but some of them that I've spoken to just don't.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting to like hear the risks that like parents see, and it might not even be within their own kid, but like just see in general, like, oh, I see kids experiencing this, and it made me like realize like how many issues there really are out there,
Yeah.
and how uninformed I really was before like I started taking schooling. Like I was like, oh yeah, kids have this or that, and they'll be fine. Because I really do think I was one of those parents that was like, oh, they'll be fine if they just keep going.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times kids, especially nowadays, need more help than you can get through it. Like everyone goes through bullying, you'll be fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of crazy how much of it.
And the same article that I was just talking about of like how to teach or teaching parents about peer pressure is that it talked about like how, and this was written a couple like looks like 3 or 4 years ago, but it was talking about how parents didn't have cyberbullying like children today have, and how that plays a huge thing, because it talked about because in the peer pressure thing, it talked about like a lot of the things aren't happening face to face anymore. It could be over a text message, it could be over a Snapchat, it could be over like things that older generations never had to deal with. So it was teaching them how to educate themselves, kind of like how you guys were talking about, but also to put a parent in that perspective and be like, they're not even safe all the time within their own homes because they have all these devices, and like all this stuff can still get in. So I just thought it was interesting, like, because I sometimes used to have that perspective, like even me looking at my younger siblings and seeing everything that they like. They're so much more like technologically savvy than I am with just certain things, and I'm just like, I can't even imagine what my children are gonna have to deal with, like all these things. And it kind of reminded me, I think it was Elder Ballard's talk, or Elder from this last conference, but it talked about like making the home safe, because with technology nowadays, like we allow the world to enter our homes sometimes, and that we just need to have that spiritual awareness within our homes and constantly teach gospel principles and things like that, because this world it's so much harder than it used to be. It's so much more complicated.
I think it was Elder Ballard that you were talking about, because he also in one of our other classes we're talking a lot about family councils, and he's actually the one who wrote a book, Elder Ballard did, about family councils, and his book, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
What's it called?
Family counts. It's like
Oh
called
man,
family
what's the name?
council.
I think it's
Counseling
called,
with our
Oh
councils.
yeah, Counseling with Our Councils.
Okay, cool.
Elder
I'll
Ballard.
probably read it.
It is off the chart. It is so awesome, because he goes through the way that the first presidency and the Quorum of the 12 do a council, and he says it's this exact pattern is how we should do it in our families. And the way the steps that they go through are like they meet in a sacred place. They always have an agenda beforehand. Before they start, they always express love and appreciation for one another. They
Start the meeting with a prayer.
start the meeting with a prayer, close it with a prayer, and in between they don't they don't leave a topic until they come to a consensus. So they all start with the highest apostle and they go all around, and they don't leave the topic until everyone has expressed their concern and their opinion. And they say it 100 times. I keep hearing them say it, but they say a lot of these men are really educated, and some of them are really opinionated.
Yeah.
They'll talk really heavily and almost. They said they never argue or there's never contention, but they will express their opinion very passionately.
I read a talk by Elder Oaks once, and he kind of talked about the same thing. And he's like, he even said that he's like, because it was like an interview, kind of like a Q&A thing. And someone talked about, like, you guys are all apostles. Like, do you guys all just, like, know answers and stuff, like, all the time? He's like, we have a room full of educated men with their own thoughts that think that they're right. And so sometimes we're sitting there for hours talking about what's the Lord's will and not our personal will. And I just thought that was interesting, because sometimes, we look at these men and be like, they're so in tune with the Spirit. Of course they all get the same answers and think the same way, but not at all.
I've been on different councils in the church, and I've kind of realized that sometimes we can have very differing opinions from other, like I'm in the Elders Quorum presidency in my ward, and the Elders Quorum president and I argue a lot, but not in like a not in an argumentative way, but it's always because we have in mind what's best for the ward, so we want to come to a consensus, and a lot of times that's the way we do it. But I think going back to what the main topic, the whole point is that if we apply those family councils and those principles, it makes all of this other stuff a lot. Kimmy and I have been doing the family councils, and it changes our whole family.
It does. We actually had a family council when his brother passed away, like, about what to do.
Yeah, that was what, 4 days ago, 5 days ago?
He didn't want him. His brother didn't want a memorial, and
or a funeral.
And so we all talked. We had this family council, and it was kind of incredible. Like,
kind of.
Well,
with your whole family or just you two?
Our whole family.
Oh wow!
And like brothers and sisters.
And we did it the exact way we just talked about. But the coolest part was going around before we started, and everyone expressed their love and appreciation and explained why for each person there. And there was like 15 of us, so it was a really
3-hour experience.
It was 3 hours. It was
But that's awesome. That would make, because situations like those could be so negative. But
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was until that happened, because there's a lot of drama that goes along with that. Everyone thinks my mom hated our older brother. A lot of drama.
Family drama.
And it changed the whole spirit of just the family gathering, and it made it a lot easier to talk to one another. Once everyone, and the coolest part is half of the people there were not members or were not active.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
The only active ones are us and my parents, and then everyone else was inactive or not members. So it was a if we
a powerful experience.
If we use family councils, it'll be a lot easier to help our children with things like this. I'm really learning that. So I'd read that book if I were you. Counseling with Our Councils. So good.
Counseling about councils, is that what you said?
Counseling with Our Councils.
Counseling with it.
By Elder Ballard.
And he's actually given 3 talks on it now.
3 general conference talks.
Yeah, I was like, I remember the talks he talked about it.
Yeah, and he kind of incorporates the talks, but then he expounds on them a ton. So.
In the book, it's a lot more in detail. It's really cool.
I wrote it down. I'm gonna look at it now.
He talks about the actual councils they have in the temple, and he shares some spiritual experiences, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to read it.
But it all goes back to tools that we have. And we have the tools. Sometimes as parents, we just don't know how to use them, or we don't use them.
Or we don't choose to use them.
Yeah.
That's a big part.
My kid will learn this by themselves. I don't need to worry about it. And really, our parents' role is to teach and guide their children. And so if you're not doing that, then your kid's missing out.
I have friends that don't know that that's their role, though. Like I have friends, Kevin and Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know that their role is to educate, inspire, uplift, teach. They just think they're there to kind of guide.
And be mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun titles and cute babies.
It's a difficult thing to teach people.
It is. I think in our LDS culture, we kind of have a more understanding of this is my role as a mother, this is my divine role as a father, this is like what I'm supposed to do with Heavenly Father's children. But when you don't have a gospel perspective, it changes everything. I mean, tons of people are like, I'm just here, like, I give you food, I give you shelter, what else do you want from me? Some people are like, I just want to be the cool mom and dad, like, there's no rules, just do whatever. Yeah, the gospel definitely helps so much in this.
You're not kidding.
I think we also sometimes take that for granted, like that. Like I know I grew up in Mesa, Arizona, and I grew up kind of in an LDS bubble, and I was like, and so like I moved up here to St. Louis, and I was like, wait, people don't understand that they're supposed to do these things with their kids, and so like I think that our job, one of our jobs as members of the church, is not only to learn the principles ourselves, but to teach other people and help them to apply them in their own lives.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I think that was
No, and we talked a lot. I'm like over here looking at the clock. I'm like, wow, this has gone by pretty quick, but it's been pretty, yeah.
Yeah.
For only three of us.
Yeah, for just
Yeah.
that's
Almost
pretty
talked
good.
an hour.
Good thing the other two aren't here. Just kidding.
We wouldn't have had time.
Yeah. A 2-hour video.
Awesome. Well, okay, I guess I'll stop the broadcast then.
Okay.